on YouTube so we can tweet it. Bum bum. We're trying to find the YouTube live link so we can tweet it. And I know this is already being streamed, but I gotta find that stream.
Okay, you got it, man.
Okay. All right, videos. Where to find it? Live. And yeah, so here it is. Get a shareable link. Link club. Okay, so I will tweet out now. All right, so you should have still we're live. Remember that, but you check. Can you check your Twitter now?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it, man.
Do you want to retweet it with something?
Doing it right now. 1 second.
Don't worry, here. We don't have any views there on yet, but this is going to be in there on.
Yeah, technical difficulties.
Yeah, no, it's just we just get started. That's if you want to tweet, send it out on the link on Twitter. It just takes a little time. First, you got to go live, then you have to get the link from YouTube, then you tweet it out.
Yeah, I'm having technical difficulties with my other phone here. Yeah, go ahead. Well, you just go, man.
Sure. Okay. So, all right. Let's get started. Welcome to Toxis Talking Bitcoin with your man, Publord.hodl, out of his publication, and your host, Danish.hodl. So how's it going, Publord?
Oh, hey, man. Always good to talk to you, as always. Yeah, Friday afternoon, have a few pints and mess around on Bitcoin Twitter and buy some Bitcoin. That's the big thing, right? Stack those sats.
And how is your buys, the size of your buys correlated with the amount of beers you have? How does that work?
It always seems to increase, especially after listening to all the podcasts. You know, I listen to about 2 or 3 podcasts a day. You get pretty ramped up, and you can have a few pints, and you have more conviction. The longer you get on the rabbit hole and stay in the space and listen to people much smarter than yourself,
right?
You just believe more, and you buy more, and that's where I always am.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. It's going to serve you well in the future. So yeah, everything is working. We have a chat from Benjamin Imhoff saying it's working great. Thank you very much. Yeah, anyone welcome to join the chat, and we can be interactive here. So first off, most important, Publord, what are you drinking today?
Well, I started with an IPA, which I'm finishing, but I also have a nice Guinness in honor of my Irish friends.
Perfect.
Ready to roll.
As I said last time, I love that one. So yeah, I'm just having some sparkling water here. It's still a bit early for me, but looking good. So what's happening in Bitcoin today? What are we going to talk about?
You know, pretty quiet overall. I think we're still feeling the after effects of everything from even, day Portney and weekends and MicroStrategy. I mean, it's been a busy few months. But at the end of the day, I look at Bitcoin. People have a short memory, of course, and my God, we were at $5,000 in March, and we've now hit a point. We're coming up, and I think today is a day where we've had, since July 26th to today, we've had closes over $10,000. I mean, aside from the 2017-18 all-time high run-up, which was out of control, this is the longest sustained period. So
above 10,000?
Above 10,000, yeah. This is the second longest period of closes above 10,000.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because a lot of people think Bitcoin is very volatile. It's 50% down from the all-time high. It's years ago, so obviously it's going nowhere. But there's a couple of things there. First of all, you really have to acknowledge the 4-year cycle. Like I said before,
Yeah.
if you bought Bitcoin, uh, or if you held Bitcoin and you were upset at the very bottom of the bear market capitulation in December 18, where the price came all the way down to 3,150, which was 85% off the top of 20,000. Still at that price, 3,150 approximately, it was still up 853% from 4 years earlier. So it just
Yeah.
underscores what you always have been saying. You got to look at the 4-year cycle. So
Yeah.
that's
You know.
that's sorry. That's one thing I think is important. The other thing is what people tend to forget is that 20,000 was that FOMO peak. It went up and then
Yeah.
it went down again. It was like for a very short period of time actually. And as you're saying,
Yeah.
now we're above 10,000 for the longest period ever, as I believe you
Yeah.
said, and it just showed we're doing that steady climbing.
Yeah, it's so sustained now. It's no secret. Anyone that sort of followed me on Twitter, I mean, I literally FOMO'd in towards the top. Had no idea what the hell I was doing. But when you look at before, and it was even then, $10,000 was incredible. In If you would have told someone in early 2017 that it was going to hit 10, let alone pop up to almost 20 and back down. So for us to have this sustained level over ten
Yeah.
thousand dollars, I think it just goes to show how more widespread Bitcoin has become. There's so many more people that are buying and they're holding, and dollar cost averaging. That's the only thing that saved me was dollar cost averaging, and at the time that wasn't really a thing. But it's been a nice revelation since I've entered the space. It's how many people are realizing this isn't a get rich quick scheme. I'm always amazed when people have no problem dumping money into their 401k for 40 years, but then get pissed off if Bitcoin doesn't double every day.
Right, right.
If
Can
you
you just, for the people that don't know what dollar cost averaging is, can you just like explain that in a sentence or two so everyone's on the page of that?
Yeah, sure. Look, if I had $10,000 right now, I could easily just go all in and buy basically a whole Bitcoin. Um, in the earlier days, when it was so volatile, that's a little bit dangerous because it can drop quickly. But if you can say, what I'm going to do, I'm going to split this up over a year and just put for the next 10 months 1,000 a month in, you're able to ride out anything that drops a bit or gains a bit. You're limiting your major losses. So that's what helped me is I wrote it down. I had put some money in initially, but the nice part was it was like the beginning of 2018 when it was at 3,000, I was still buying,
Yeah,
and that led me to so if you go to DC, was it DCABTC.com? Yeah, check
sure.
that site out. It's fantastic. You can enter in any dollar amount and entry point amount, and it shows you by dollar cost averaging where your actual returns are.
Right. So with dollar cost averaging, you make sure that like instead of going all in and your risk going all in at a high point and then it's going to go down from there,
Right.
by buying something like small amounts on a daily basis, for instance, then if it goes down, you make sure that you're actually also buying something at that lowest price. And if it goes up, great. Like, what are you complaining about? Whatever you bought initially is up. You're in the money. So, anyways, I want to just bring on. So, you're doing a lot of memes these days, and I want to just one of the ones you did yesterday that I really like because I'm a big fan of Apocalypse Now. And all right, so it starts from here. I love to stack my sats in the morning. It feels like victory. And so it's a great meme on the old. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. And actually, for you, this is
Yeah.
this is true because you work very early, you start very early, you end early, and then
Yeah.
you can stack your sets.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It depends. Sometimes I try to be at work by 6 a.m. But what's funny is I'll get up at 3 or 4, and you're messing around, and you're you're on Bitcoin Twitter, and you're seeing just some great content from people, and you get spun up, and then you realize, you know what, it's 6 a.m. I'm getting ready for work. Damn, I need to stack some sats already. So
Right,
today I did mine. I did mine early before I got out here, but who knows? I may end up doing a little bit more.
right, yeah, yeah. Have another beer and have some more sats. That's the way to do it.
Yeah,
So,
it happens.
one of the things I've seen is going on, I think of this morning on Bitcoin Twitter, is this discussion of, I think Michael Saylor put out a tweet regarding, you don't buy coffee with stocks, so why should you buy it with Bitcoin? And so it's that old discussion. There's a lot of people saying, well, Bitcoin
Yeah,
doesn't work because you can't pay with it in the supermarket or in Starbucks yet. My point of view on that, and then I want to hear yours as well, is
sure.
look, people that are Bitcoiners who believe that this asset is going to go up, extreme in price, don't want to spend it until you have to. So there's no Bitcoiner in their right mind that want to actually get rid of the Bitcoin in the supermarket. If you have any dollar
Yeah,
income, that's gotta go first. First, you're spending dollars. You won't touch Bitcoin until you're basically financially independent. So it's a wrong metric. Um, that like merchant adoption will come when there's enough people either financially independent on Bitcoin, which is
yeah,
very, very, very few people today, or when everyone's getting their salary in Bitcoin, which I believe will happen later this decade, because I believe that we have the hyper Bitcoinization and the collapse of fiat currency, and that we go to a Bitcoin standard in this decade. But what's your take on this Bitcoin as a medium of exchange?
well, yeah, you hit on a lot of good points there. And I was one of those people that came in, and I saw the argument. Yeah, well, hell, let's be honest. This is where I came in right at the time when Bitcoin Cash was hard forked from Bitcoin, and I had no idea about this small block versus big block debate. That didn't matter to me. Yeah, I came in for number go up technology, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But as I sat down and thought about it, and you have the people always pointing to the white paper of this peer to electronic transfer system as the be all end all. And my first thought is, well, we don't have I don't have a payment problem. I don't have a problem getting my money right now from here. Pay my tab today. I have just, hey, I got a card. Okay, what we've discovered in the years since is there's a store value problem. Okay, and this is what companies like MicroStrategy are realizing. You know what? It's not that they can't pay. It's just they're tired of losing money when the Federal Reserve decides to just do their own thing. No government oversight. They just print whatever the hell they want. So to me, it was always an interesting dynamic. I think organically things have to grow. You start as a store of value, then you become a medium of exchange, and then finally a unit of account. But everyone is in a rush to turn this into a medium exchange. And I get there's got to be payment systems in place. I understand that part. But the
Right.
government isn't doing us the government's not doing us any favors when now every time I want to buy a cup of coffee, it's a damn taxable event.
Right,
You know?
right. It's just too much hassle. So if you're really in a
Yeah,
situation where you need to use some of your Bitcoin to pay bills or whatever, it's for tax reasons. It's a lot easier to do one sale per month. It's a lot easier tax
yeah,
calculation than doing it every time you buy a coffee. I mean, that's going to kill you, that admin workload. So the least taxable events as possible. So I think we're on the same page on that one. Um, Also, we spoke a little bit before we went live on, and that, like, when will hyper Bitcoinization occur? And I guess first of all, it's a
yeah,
discussion of, like, do you believe that fiat currency will collapse and will end up on a Bitcoin standard as money, as I do? And if you do, like what kind of timing do you see?
Well, his mind to fiat to fees, as we have seen. I mean, look, the U.S. dollar is coming to the end of its life cycle compared to others. It's lost what 99% of its value. The question is how does the government, or how do all the governments transition with the least amount of pain? Because there will be pain. Before this year started, I was thinking of hyper Bitcoinization in not this well, probably two halvings away. But what's fascinating when you look at it, this whole move by MicroStrategy and could just go to a store of value, it may prolong when people start to use it as an everyday thing. It may be something that is ultimately, if companies and corporations and nation states start using it and pumping the price and using it for large-scale settlements, it could be some time between the smaller people get in and can afford it. So I think the next 4 years will be telling. There's a lot of CEOs I think that are in the boardrooms now saying, look, we got to at least look, they don't have to, what did Saylor put in, 85%?
Well, I mean, so what he did was out of the 500 million, 75 million. So they used 75 million to buy back stock, but then that money is off the balance sheet. So out of the 425 million US dollars on his balance sheet, he put every single dime into Bitcoin. So his balance sheet is 100% Bitcoin. So they avoid the cash being diluted by the Federal Reserve. And I think that's, as we spoke about already, that's a great move to avoid this fiat currency dilution. But also, it just shows that we're starting to see the effects of lack of faith in fiat currency. And the more people, the more the fiat currency, like US dollars and euro and all the other fiat currencies, the more they lose their credibility, the less people will want to hold it. And that may happen slowly first. Like we see one news from one NASDAQ-listed company that you and I had never heard of before. Now we know it. They still have a $1.5 billion evaluation. And once we start seeing more and more companies join that train leaving the station saying, we don't want to hold fiat currency. It's obviously being diluted. COVID has initiated some stimulus packages that is just making this quantitative easing on steroids going really, really fast. And once we start seeing more and more companies doing this, I think it'll be one of those first slow, then suddenly, all of a sudden, everyone will be like, if the rest of companies don't want to hold fiat currency and the fiat currency just even faster lose value because no one wants it, then everyone will be exiting the fiat currency room and trying to squeeze through the door, rubbing shoulders, getting into the Bitcoin room, at the same time, and that's when have that suddenly, and I think fiat currency will collapse. So what timing are you saying that? I mean, do you believe that will happen, and what timing are you looking at?
Yeah, there's a popular term called a death spiral when everything obviously just goes down and down and down. I don't know if you call this a life spiral, but I would say this: you're at this fine point where, if you go back one or two halvings, say you had anyone holding Bitcoin at $10, watching it go to 100. To then, that was like unbelievable. There's no way. We're at a fine point now, with it being mainstream. So here I am. If I see a company like MicroStrategy, but imagine Apple comes in and says, we're putting, we're going to put $2 billion down. But this is a mere pittance, of course, in their terms. But if companies just do that just to put it on their balance sheet, all right, and I start to see the price go up. My view now is what I thought would be interesting at 100,000. I'm saying if these companies are just coming in now at this, if it's going to 100, it's going to 1 million. You know,
Yeah.
so it's going to be interesting to see how many people. Look, people are going to have to take. People are going to take their profits, and folks that started in 2013, God bless them, strong hands, man, and they're
Yeah.
still here. Will take their profit. But and I think that part of the stock to flow game theory is it's not so much the numbers that are coming in, but the sheer amounts of money. I mean, do you know how many people it took in the early days to do what MicroStrategy just did this year?
Sorry,
A
what's your
ton.
question?
Do you know how many people had to come in to start buying Bitcoin just for what MicroStrategy bought this year? I mean,
Right.
425 million. I mean, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
You, you talk. If I go out and I talk to like 10 of my friends, which would be amazing, if I got 10 people onboarded into this, it's absolutely crazy. It's the amount of money. It's not the number of people coming in. It's now the amount of money coming in that's going to drive this next one. And oh, by the way, in 3.5 years, there's one more halving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So the way I look at it is, yes, it's more money coming in now, but to move this thing from 10,000 to maybe 200,000, it will also take more
yeah,
capital than the 2016-17 bull run, which what's it seems was driven by really mostly retail investors. This will be a more professional investor driven um, a bull market. But I
yeah,
guess what I love to see with MicroStrategy is this is not um, they're not coming in because they're speculating. So it's not a professional
yeah,
speculation. Um, they came in because uh, it's a prudent thing to do. It's a conservative thing to do to um, to go to take all your fiat currency and convert it to Bitcoin. It's it's the best way of safeguarding that value you have on the balance sheet. Um, I can hear
yeah.
a good time going on in your background. What's the atmosphere like in the pub?
Always good time. Just family. It's more of a sports bar here, but yeah, folks coming in after work on a Friday, gonna blow off some steam, I think. Uh,
I
yeah,
wish I
say
was there.
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say I wish I was there, and one day
Yeah, yeah.
we'll maybe we should do, yeah, one day we'll do this from your pub. I'd love to come and have a Guinness with you. So by the way, as I
Well,
told you the other day, so I'm looking to I want to get a car. I don't want to spend too much because I feel my money is better off in Bitcoin. But
yeah,
I want to get a car, and then I'm looking at this auction site, carsandbits.com. I think it's called carsandbits.com, which is Doc DeMoro, which is a
yeah,
really fun car enthusiast that does YouTube videos on these all like cool cars. And he has this car auction website. And one of the cars I'm interested in is in your state. So if I buy that, I'll come and
yeah,
see
man.
you in that car, and then I'll drive across US as a big road trip, which
Yeah,
is be awesome. I mean, I've seen many states in US, but I haven't like taken that trip through the country, which I think would be awesome.
yeah, yeah. Well, every American, I'm sure, probably has it. I remember from the '70s and '80s, when you're a kid, everything was a road trip. So like National Lampoon's Vacation, that was literally like early 1980s lifestyle here. Yeah, you,
Right.
you just
Road trips are great.
you, yeah. Oh, well, I thought so. Then you get older and realize, you know what? I just want to fly. I'll pay the money.
Yeah, but I'd still say, yeah. I mean, it's convenient fly, but a road trip is an
Yeah.
experience in itself. So it's not only about getting from A to
Yes.
B. you get to experience some of that country you wouldn't otherwise have done.
Yep.
I was I
You gotta
was
have a good.
one
Yeah.
I was once visiting Iran, going from Tehran to Esfahan to see a lot of, like, there's a lot of interesting things in Esfahan. I think it's the biggest square
Yeah.
in the world. It's really like cozy, cool old town. And I said, look, I don't want to. I didn't want to fly domestic because I was afraid about the airplane quality. So I said, guys, let's take their car. So it was like a 6 hour car ride. But it's interesting because you get a feel for um,
Yeah.
the country, and
Oh
so
yeah.
it's interesting. But anyways, to go back to Bitcoin, we have a chat from Robert Gramillion. I hope I said your name right. And he's saying, can we meme these corporations into foreign MicroStrategy? So allow me to just pull up a tweet you
Yeah.
just yesterday that I absolutely love. Just give me
Yeah.
2 seconds. Um, Finding that. And in the meantime, you can carry on and say, when do you expect to see other companies coming into Bitcoin the same
Yes.
way?
Yes. So, so it's interesting. I think I was it. Yeah, Dents. I think it's actually Princey, 1976. Anyway, he's got a great podcast. And what's interesting is he had a gentleman on the other day, and just a small business owner. And I guess it was very enlightening because I don't know if you heard about Tahini, the shawarma shop in Toronto. Okay, well,
Right?
it's sort of like that. He just came. He had reached out to Daniel and say, "Listen, hey, you may not realize how many small businesses are doing it." And he had a great little story, a family-run business, and I mean, I don't think too small. They got together, and this was over a year ago. He had heard about Bitcoin, probably I think 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, he came together with the people at the top of his company and pitched the idea, and they were all on board. I mean, they got it. And he was saying, you would not believe the number of companies that are doing this. And so when it comes to a time schedule of hyper Bitcoinization, it's interesting to me because you have almost a different use case now than when everyone started. Everyone started with this peer-to-peer transfer system. But yeah, what if it just turned? What if all these companies just are so afraid of the devaluation of fiat currency that they just buy this and hold it on their balance sheets
Yeah.
and just don't let
Uh,
go?
uh, yeah, that's what Michael Saylor is saying with MicroStrategy, that they're not buying it to make fiat
Yeah,
currency. I think once people understand Bitcoin, then you don't buy Bitcoin to make more fiat currency. You buy
yeah,
Bitcoin because you think it's going to replace fiat currency, and you want to hold some of
yeah,
that future money of the world. Because let's be
right.
honest, right now, the market cap of Bitcoin, is a joke. So small it is compared to the market is aiming for. So
Yeah,
right now, the market cap is around 200 billion US dollars. And if you look at
yeah,
the global fiat currency evaluation, which is with all the printing going on, more than 100 trillion now, if you include gold, um, and
yeah,
um, and then you say, look, fiat currency today is known, it has a built-in policy for destroying its value every year. And they managed to convince people of that, which is amazing that you can convince people that, hey, it's a good idea for you that your savings become worth less every year. So in my eyes, it's obvious
yeah,
that Bitcoin is also aiming at the store value market. So today, to avoid
yeah,
dilution of fiat currency, people are buying stocks, they're buying real estate, and we especially see it now where all this money is being printed. We have huge unemployment. The economic activity is like withdrawing, GDP is falling, yet real estate and stocks are going up. And it's simply
yeah,
because people want to store value, not hold fiat, because they
yeah,
want to escape that dilution of fiat currency.
Yeah.
So what I want to say is,
Yeah.
I believe that very justifiable. You could say that Bitcoin would aim at maybe take another 300 trillion US dollars value from the store of value market, because Bitcoin with a hard cap on 21 million will be able to store value. So combined, in
Yep.
my opinion, we're looking at in today's currency, a purchasing power of Bitcoin that is equivalent of 400 trillion. And that means that Bitcoin goes up 2000x from here.
Yeah.
That's the potential I'm talking about. So I just want to answer Robert, who's on the screen here, with his question from before about memeing other corporations into following MicroStrategy. Thank you very much, Robert. So it's funny because Publord did he did a meme on this yesterday that I absolutely love. If not everyone can read it, let me just read it out loud. So on top, you have other CEOs. They're weak and they're looking for, I guess, a savior or something. And they're saying, I'd be afraid to risk 425 million on Bitcoin. And then you got Michael Saylor as the big boss. That's why no one will remember your name. That's pretty funny. And let me just say, so if people want to see some more of these memes, and Pablo, you're really pumping them out at the moment on like several a day. You will find Pablo's Twitter down in the description on YouTube, as well as you'll find a couple other links. I have my Twitter there. And so anyways, back to you, Pablo. I just wanted to show that meme because you're already working on answering Robert's idea.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you, that scene was from the movie Troy, and that's when two ready to battle, and the opposing army had this huge gentleman, probably 7 feet tall. Was that, I don't know, 2.5 meters for you in Denmark, but they have to go and wake up Achilles, the Greek hero, because he's home. And the little boy, actually in the movie, I believe, says something to the effect of, I've seen him. I would never want to fight a man like that. And that's why, and Achilles says, well, that's why no one will remember your name. Yeah. So I thought that as Michael Saylor is like, look, you're the first dude to go all in. Like every other CEO, no, well, Bitcoin's too risky. I could never do that. But no, listen, when Bitcoin like does this next moonshot, he's a living legend already.
Right.
Everyone's going to remember his name. The guy that went all in on Bitcoin, 425 million. So right. Yeah, I just thought it was a fitting way to describe what's happening in the corporate world, and this is just starting. All company, it's just starting, and
absolutely
we had the privilege of being here to watch it unfold.
Right. So I want to get that answer from you, Publord. Yeah. Do you see hyper-Bitcoinization happening in this epoch before the next halving, or in the next epoch, or and let's be honest, none of us know it, obviously, and so we're just talking probabilities. We're talking what we think might happen, and by the way, we have BTC Moon Guy in the house again in the chat saying 2000x. Yeah. I like the sound of that. Well, so do I. Well, I believe it. I'm very convinced, to be honest. We got 2000x from here. So what do you say? Which epoch do you think we're looking at? And by the way, cheers.
Hey,
never forget.
Cheers, my friend.
Let's not forget why we're here. We're here for a drink and talk Bitcoin.
Yeah. So before this year started, I saw hyper-Bitcoinization unfolding, I guess, a little bit more seamlessly. What I'm saying now is it's going to be a rush for people to preserve their wealth. Okay, not to have it as like you say, go out and buy coffee. the problem is, like we were discussing, no, one, right now we have to have the software and technology catch up to a point where everyday users can actually have a nice user interface, a good way to store private keys, a system. Like right now, you still have to you can't be a dumbass and use Bitcoin right now. That's just the natural state of affairs. So what I think you'll see is you're going to see, as I call it, a land rush. You're going to have companies and nation states that'll realize the only way to protect this change in our fiat system, well, we got to take some of our reserves and put them into the hardest money we know. And they're finally starting to realize that hardest money is Bitcoin.
Right.
Okay, so I think in this next 4 years, this next halving, you'll see the companies. Um, it'll I think we'll then see, maybe you'll see banks, for example, that want mortgages paid off say, listen, if you pay off your mortgage in Bitcoin, we'll knock 10% off, 20% off. That could be the
Right.
next generation or the next illustration. So I think there's levels of hyper Bitcoinization. If you're talking where you want to pay, when you're paying for a cup of coffee with Bitcoin, to me at that point it's become a unit of account. It's no longer a medium of exchange. You don't value it in terms of fiat
When
dollars.
when hyper-Bitcoinization?
A,
I mean, if you
not,
don't want to,
not no, not this having let's see, 24 by 2030.
right,
2030, everything is just done in Bitcoin, and because no one wants anything else.
right, man,
Okay, so what?
you're
10
turning
years.
bearish, Publord. You're turning bearish. What happened?
No, oh, yeah, no, no. Listen, man. The Federal Reserve turned me a little bearish I, because I think people are going to hold it. I didn't think people would be holding it so tight as they are now. You have look at Michael Saylor. We're not selling for 100 years. His company
Right,
isn't giving that shit up.
right,
You talk about going to infinity. He's not selling it.
right,
No, and do you think every other company is going to sell it? No, no. It's their only lifeboat. That's it. That's all they got left. And
right,
you think they're not going to give it away cheaply and
right.
not enough to buy coffee. I don't know how was it Gresham's law that does that? That the
Yeah.
shit money
So
goes out.
yeah.
Yeah,
So Gresham's law, an economist several hundred years ago in Britain, formulated his famous Gresham law, which is if there's more money in
yeah,
circulation, people will always use the weaker
yeah,
money first, and then get rid of that, and you will have that last coin standing. And
yeah,
in my mind, there's absolutely no doubt there's no money that reaches Bitcoin to the sock level. As we say in Denmark, like you have a guy, he's got stocks. If something doesn't reach even the sock level, then it's just bad compared to
yeah,
the winner. So it's the winner takes all game money. I
yeah.
have no doubt of that. So, but anyway, so let me give my point of view on when hyper
Sure.
Bitcoinization. Um,
Yeah,
so a lot of people think that now with everything happening, that we are on the way in now, that fiat currency is in the process of collapsing, and we won't have another major bear market anymore. It will just now continue from these 10,000 to 100,000 to 300,000 and continue up. Um, and I agree with um, the general mood of that fiat currency is coming to the end of its life cycle. Ray Dalio actually does a lot of he's done a
yeah,
lot of work on that. He's talking about there's short-term debt cycles, and then there's long-term
yep,
debt cycle. And the long-term debt cycle is when the governments have leveraged so much that they no longer can delever without crashing everything. And then what happens is you have the fiat currency collapse when already the interest rate is zero or negative. You can't stimulate the economy anymore with printing more money. but they keep printing because they're trying desperately to do something, and then you have the collapse. So definitely, I'd say that this is, we're seeing that. We're seeing the beginning of the end, absolutely. But I still think that once Bitcoin crosses 200,000, 250,000, and maybe even reach 288,000, like Plan B stock to flow model predict in this cycle, then you will have enough Bitcoin holders saying, look, I want to pay off my house, I want to buy a car, and I want to, diversify. Maybe they're all in Bitcoin and they want to take out, I don't know, 10, 20%. So that, I think sooner or later, even though we are on the way to collapse of fiat, we are on the way to hyper Bitcoinization, which is the other side of the coin of hyperinflation, then we will see this sell-off happen because people want to, take some of that profit. But then I think it'll be followed by a bear market that is shorter than the last one. The last bear market was 1 year. But what we have seen each time, because stock to flow, which is accelerating slower than it used to, the bull market takes longer time. And we've also seen each time that uptrend towards the halving, in anticipation of the halving, starts earlier and earlier. So if you have that 1 year bear market from last time, the bull market is going to last a little longer. The anticipation of the next halving is going to start a little sooner. So the bear market is going to be cut shorter. I mean, anything can happen, but everything else being equal. So I think we'll have that sell-off event. I think we'll have that peak, and then a short bear market. And then I think that the next halving bull run, which is triggered by 2024, likely April 2024 halving, I think because Bitcoin then, in my opinion, and according to stock to flow, is going to go to $1 million per Bitcoin, $2 million per Bitcoin, then all of a sudden you have Bitcoin worth around 40% of global monetary value. And when Bitcoin reaches that level, it's going to push a level of fiat currency inflation on consumer prices that is just going to make everyone realize, look, I got to get rid of this fiat because it's being pushed now. It's pushed downwards in value by Bitcoin, and everyone's going to rush to Bitcoin. So that's why I previously said I think that that bull market starting 2024, in 2026, that's going to be that event where you see hyper Bitcoinization. Everyone's going to get out of fiat, and it's just going to go through the roof and take over. Fiat collapses, Bitcoin takes over, and fairly quickly heads to that $20 million buying power evaluation. So you're saying this decade, I'm saying 2026, plus minus. It seems we're pretty much on the same page there.
Yeah. So listen, I have a question for you. Earlier, like I said, what do we meet? Like maybe a year and a half ago, we started just talking Bitcoin in general. But we're talking about so what's your end game? Well, what do you do with the money? And and this is before the Federal Reserve lost their fucking mind. It used to be, you know what? You sell when it gets to a point, you sell 20% of your holdings and pay off your home. And I'm laughing now because I'm looking at the fiat is being devalued so quickly. How the hell? Why the hell would I pay off my house? Why not take out more and put it in Bitcoin? It was funny. I think it was back in maybe March, April. I took my stimulus check, $1,200. Yeah, thank you, Uncle Sam, and bought Bitcoin, and it was 6,900 at the time. And I remember I talked to you about this, and I put it out as a tweet, and I said to someone, if you know Bitcoin coming into a halvings at $6,900, what percentage loan would you take to buy a whole coin? Just go to your bank. And it was interesting. People say, no, I could never do this. These are hardened Bitcoiners. No, I don't take. And I'm not telling anyone to take a loan to do it. But think about that. if you could take a loan, knowing what you know now about the halvings and the way the printing's going, what percentage? Like at 10% is a steal, right? Would you say you could get like a signature loan at 8%, 9%, and
Right.
you could have bought a whole Bitcoin then, and just wait 5 years. I think you can pay back that interest and then some.
Absolutely. And actually, that's my point. I say that when you're all in, you're actually
Yeah,
above, you actually have more than 100% of your net worth in Bitcoin. That means all in. Let's say
yeah,
um, you have a net worth of $100 because you have $110 in Bitcoin, and then you have
yeah,
$10 worth of credit card debt. So you have $110 asset, a $10 debt. So you have a net worth of $100, but you have $110 in Bitcoin, which
yeah,
means that
yeah,
this person is all in with
yeah.
110% of his net worth in Bitcoin. I want to take a chat here. I don't know if you can see it on your screen. I know you're on mobile. It might be too small, but so Robert
Yeah,
Gramillion is saying they hint
yeah,
that Square or Twitter will follow MicroStrategy. Really need a giant to do the same. So yes, I have also seen that conversation that someone was saying. It was on one of the YouTube shows that uh, look, Jack Jack Dorsey is a big believer in Bitcoin. Why isn't he
yeah,
converting their balance sheet from fiat currency to Bitcoin? Because he knows it's the right thing to do. And the
yeah.
answer probably is that for these companies
There's,
where you don't have
yeah,
one person that can pull the strings and make the decision, and you need to
yep,
involve like a lot of board members and shareholders to make a decision like that, which is a big decision. It's the right decision in my point of view. It's the logic decision. It's the easy decision. But because it's
yeah,
so different from the approach the last 100 years,
yeah,
it does need that approval from shareholders and board members. So
yeah,
companies that don't have a guy like Michael Saylor that is the boss that has more than 50% voting power, they have a little bit
yeah,
longer of a process to go through. And that's why we probably, MicroStrategy has totally, green lighted and blue stamped and okayed doing this thing.
yeah,
It'll be easier for the next company because they can say, look,
yeah,
someone, a
yeah,
NASDAQ listed company did this with every dollar on their balance sheet. So, it's more okay to be the next person or the next company. But
oh
because
yeah,
they have this decision structure, it probably won't happen until next year at the earliest.
okay.
And the big question is, when are we going to see FANG companies say, imagine Apple saying, look, the $200 billion we have in cash, we want to allocate it to Bitcoin. But the thing with Bitcoin is it already has a $200 billion market cap. So if you want to put $200 billion in to an asset with a market cap on 200 billion, it's not going to stay at 200 billion. That market cap is going to hit to like 10 trillion or something because not that many people want to sell. So,
Yeah.
that's when you're going to start seeing absolutely insane price increases on Bitcoin.
So you'll like this one, man. And this is, the memes going around with Michael Saylor because he is a fucking Chad in the Bitcoin Twitter space right now. What I retweeted out was they were buying. I mean, my God, I don't know how many. They're point 0.19 Bitcoin every 3 seconds to dollar cost average in, and also not mess up the price so much, which is
Right,
brilliant. And there's a
right,
lot of companies in the background that are going to be smart about that. You're not. I, I I talked about once about Walt Disney in Florida. You know, when he was going to start Disney World, he didn't just go out and say, "I'm Disney World here to buy all your land." No, he created multiple companies to go in to
right,
buy different land and farms to keep the
right,
price down. And
right.
if you don't think other major corporations aren't already doing this, you're sorely mistaken. And so smart on their part. But yeah, you're right. One of the brilliant things to me on Bitcoin is the, the little man wins. And by little man is I say It's the guy that's smart, understands the true nature of money. Um, MicroStrategy to me is a little man when you compare to Apple. Tahini is a little man. I mean, these are the
Right.
people that recognize it and are nimble enough to get in and buy on their own. It's the
Right.
Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't lie. It is so fair. But yeah, was it Parker Lewis that did the gradually and suddenly? The suddenly is going to blow everyone's mind. You're going to wake up. We're going to wake up one morning at 100x. One morning, you're going to wake up at 100x and say, "What the hell just happened?" Well, all those companies have been buying behind the scenes. Oh, by the way, guess what? Yeah, fuck you, Coinbase, because you're going to find out who's been fractionally reserving at that time. You will find out quickly when everyone now goes to their exchange. I want my Bitcoin. I want my Bitcoin, and you're going to find out who actually has their Bitcoin,
Right.
and it probably wasn't them. So
Right.
yeah, the next 3 years is going to be fantastic here. I always say,
Yeah.
look, man, never buy what you can't afford. Buy what lets you sleep at night. Buy
Right.
what's in your heart. Buy what
And
won't wreck your family.
and remember, don't have more money allocated to fiat currency than you can afford to lose, because that is a built-in
Absolutely.
policy. It's a
Yeah.
built-in policy. Do not allocate
Yeah.
more to fiat currency than you can afford to lose, because that's what's going to happen. And MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, he just said, look, we don't want to lose $425 million. Fiat currency is too big of a risk. We're going Bitcoin standard. Um,
Yeah. This
yeah.
are, but here's why I'm laughing. I don't know who this guy is. I got to find his Twitter thing again here. Was putting out. Oh my God, he's down 7%. Well, my God, the guy just started this year for one. Um, Dollar cost averaging in MicroStrategy is, and you're worried now. This guy has a 100-year plan, and you're judging him after 2 months. Are you kidding me? Where do you see fiat over 4 years, 8 years? This MicroStrategy they just fucking set the standard, dude. They're right. They apply here. That 10-year history is one thing. If you got nothing to do with your cash reserves, what are they clearing? I think they're like 30 million, 40 million a year that they're clearing just cash every year. The
Sorry,
reserves are doing nothing.
explain me that. What
Yeah.
are you saying? Who's clearing $30 million in cash per year? Please explain.
Oh, I think MicroStrategy, the returns. They're what
Ah,
they
yeah, yeah.
bring in every year.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Their gross margin or their
The,
profit. Yeah.
the money he had on the sideline wasn't money he needs at all for
No.
years. He
Right.
doesn't need it.
He
It,
needs to
it was good.
store its value. That's what he's for.
Yeah,
He needs to store its value. He needs to
yep,
avoid fiat
yeah,
currency
yeah,
dilution.
yeah. And so that's what's hilarious is look, he's sticking over here. He doesn't need to touch. His company is so good. He doesn't need to touch this money for 100 years. He really doesn't. He's just
Right,
trying to put it on the sideline, and people
right,
don't understand that. They don't get it.
right. Um, so right, let me just. So Robert Grumillion
Yep.
again is writing about Coinbase IPO. Agree that that's a major event. But what I really like about this one, the chat from Robert is we are 1997 in web history, and I agree.
Yeah.
This is very early days. So I'm so fortunate
Yeah.
that I came across Bitcoin. Sorry, not Bitcoin. Internet in 1995. That's when I first realized what this thing is. In 1996, I started
Break it up.
my first internet-based company, and convincing people. All right, we lost Publord here. I'm just gonna write to him here to come back in. We'll see if that's gonna be possible. But anyways, let me continue my story here. So um, when I was trying to convince people of the future of internet, in 1996, 1997, it was easier than telling people about Bitcoin now. More people were using internet in 1996, 1997 that are using Bitcoin now. I mean, it was an uphill battle back then to try and explain to people why internet was the future, why it added value to everything. It made, generated so much value, and it was going to change the world. It was not easy, but it's a whole lot easier than telling people about Bitcoin. Now, when you tell people about Bitcoin, most people, when they haven't done the research on what is money and what is Bitcoin, and therefore realizing that Bitcoin is the best money that the world has ever seen, then unless they have done that research, they think Bitcoin is something like just a speculative asset that won't serve a purpose in the future. So yeah, it's in 1996, 97, it was easier to tell people about internet than it is about Bitcoin now, and that's why this is really early days in Bitcoin. And when you look at the amount of the global population using Bitcoin to store some of their value, it's much less than there was people using internet back then. Bitcoin is really early stage. All right, let me see. So a guy is saying here that he's trying to get in. Let me just see if he's trying to get in. He's having issues. Well, anyways, we're gonna do this again, and really, I just, the reason we started doing this was because we were having. Excuse me while I'm just gonna see what guy's gonna say here. Hang on. Yeah, what's up? What's up, Pablo?
Hey, I'm trying to get back into it. I'm having some connection issues here.
Okay, do you want me to, you have the link, right? You just need to copy paste it to your browser.
Yeah, well, I do, but look, man, I'm already 10 minutes over.
Hey, listen, why don't we'll continue next week, man? We got plenty of time talking Bitcoin. I'll end the stream here. Yeah. So thanks for participating. See you next week, man. Absolutely. All right. Absolutely. All right. See ya. Bye. All right, guys. So it's also time for Publord to move on. So yeah, we'll do this again next time. And as I was saying, we've been talking Bitcoin on the phone for, I don't know, 1.5 years, 2 years. I'm not really sure. I can't remember when we started. And we thought, look, we're having these conversations. We're enjoying it. Why not share it? Other people might find some of it useful, or just like to, follow the, and be part of the Bitcoin discussion, like we're, interacting through the chat. So, and then I came to think, what? There's a lot of people on Bitcoin Twitter that I'd love to do this with. I'd love to have the conversation with you guys, and let's just go live like this. We're just having a conversation, talking about what's going on in Bitcoin. So on that note, reach out to me on Twitter, DM me on Twitter. We can set something up anytime. I enjoy doing this. Anyways, it's been a great start to the day talking Bitcoin. Everyone have a great weekend. Bye.